Hey guys, welcome to the off-season recap of the Road to 2K19 series. My freshman year is complete. All we have to do left, the only games left is just the Final Four, which Faran and DeSean are both participating in. So we'll wrap that up for you, and then we'll get into the off-season recap. First game that was on the schedule was the Kansas Jayhawks versus the 4-seeded Arizona Wildcats, led by my good friend Faran, and I'd love to see them get revenge for us, get redemption on Kansas. And Faran's having a great tournament, 16 points per game after only averaging 9.5 during the regular season. But Faran's not only a scorer, he does passing. You guys know he led the Pac-12 in steals per game, and he's top 5 in the nation in steals per game. So you guys know he marks in every category, so scoring's not the only asset of his game. Nonetheless, though, this was a really great game. I'm glad I turned this one on, even though I was a little jealous not to be in San Antonio playing in the Final Four. But this Wildcat Jayhawk game was one of the best matchups I've seen in a while. First half was full of fireworks, and Faran was really a big part of that. He would finish with 15 points, 5 assists, recorded a steal, good defense on DeSean Lacey. But unfortunately, in the end, the Kansas Jayhawks, the team I believe is the best team in the nation, was just a little too much, as it would be more of a defensive battle in the second half, and Kansas would just scrape by the Arizona Wildcats. One game down, another game to go. A battle of two number 1 seeds in the Duke Blue Devils and the Wichita State Shockers. No pun intended, but the Shockers have shocked a lot of people getting this far. That was terrible. Ignore that. But anyway, yeah, I mean, Wichita State, led by their great defensive core, they could upset Duke here. And DeSean's actually getting the start for the first time in the tournament. Coach K has sent him out there to start at the shooting guard position, as he knows he needs all the offense he can get versus this Wichita State Shockers team. Only me and you guys know that DeSean is going to transfer after this season, so he wanted to make sure that everybody knew his name after this Final Four. Finally getting a start in the NCAA tournament, and he made the most of it, and so did the Duke Blue Devils, coming out here, and they ran Wichita State off of the floor in a 30-point win, as Wichita State just did not have the offense to keep up with the Duke Blue Devils. DeSean Christian, the top scorer, 21 points overall to his name, and the Final Four has come down to one game. The entire NCAA tournament has come down to one game between the Kansas Jayhawks and the Duke Blue Devils, two very familiar teams. We played both of them. Unfortunately, our record against these two teams is 0-4. But yeah, DeSean came out quick, as he would also record the first basket of the game. But unfortunately, DeSean would not have the same magic as he did last game, as he only scored 8 points, 2 rebounds in 26 minutes of play, and the Kansas Jayhawks would knock off the Duke Blue Devils. Kansas and Coach Bill Self hoist the trophy. Shooting guard Jacob Conley is your Final Four most outstanding player, as he would also record, he lit us up a couple times. You see in this game, he puts up the 20-piece in the championship game, so it was pretty unanimous on who this one was going to go to. As we dip into the off-season, a lot of question marks, Where's our recruiting standing as Texas? Who's going to come in and replace Chris Hines? And where's DeSean going to go? Where's he going to transfer at? Not to mention, we need to see Donovan and Faran get drafted. Don't worry, all these questions will be answered by the end of this episode. Bill Self, of course, winning Coach of the Year. As we transition to the All-American teams, All-Conference teams, All-Freshman teams. I look to be on some of these lists, hopefully, but All-American's a little ambitious. I don't think I'm going to be on this list. You see Jason Valencia making his way onto the list, and of course Matthew Baines, two guys that we've seen before in our conference. And moving down to second-team All-American, nobody from the Big 12, but guys like Jamal Sarchett leading all guards in the nation in scoring. But now let's look at the freshman All-American. Did I make the list? Yes, I did, accompanied by Faran, Donovan, and Donovan's teammate is second in command, Ashton Womack. It's kind of crazy how this college basketball game goes sometimes. You got me, a 3-star recruit coming out of high school, leading these guys, leading this freshman All-American class. And you got DeSean, who was one of the top prospects last year, who didn't even make the list. But speaking of that, these are the 5 candidates for the Freshman of the Year. Who won Freshman of the Year in college basketball? Somehow I beat out everybody, and I win Freshman of the Year in NCAA basketball. I cannot believe this. Whenever they listed me off, I would have given it to Donovan and Faran or Cam Graves on Kansas State. But despite the great news, I think I'm going to stay another year at UT. I see in a lot of mock drafts I'm getting selected at the tail end of the second round. Most of them I'm still undrafted, so I'm going to stay. In my freshman year, I recorded 12.5 points per game, 1.2 rebounds, 6 assists to 2 turnovers, so my ratio 3-to-1, that's pretty good. 1.3 steals, 52% from the floor, 41% from downtown, 81% from the line. I played in 30 games, started 24 of them. Overall, can't ask for much more out of my freshman campaign, as I also win the Big 12 Conference Freshman of the Year. I'm taking home some pretty decent hardware here. Mitchell Drew, first team all-conference as only a sophomore. You got Sean Worley, Jason Valencia, Jermaine Sims, Matthew Baines. We'll be seeing Worley and Sims next year. They'll definitely be coming back. Maybe I could sneak my way onto the second team all-conference. Let's see. Yes, I did, beating out guys like DeSean Lacey, Anthony Tucker, just to make my way on the second team all-conference. And this is no, short feat either. No small feat. You got guys like Conley, Tamir Rodriguez, Ali Robbins, who averaged 14 and 6. I mean, this is a pretty good list I'm on. Of course, Chris Hines graduating, Justin Proctor graduating, Damian Hood and Everett Wilson. Those guys didn't really play much, but we'll be definitely feeling the loss of Chris Hines next year as he leaves in his senior year, averaging 12 a game, put up 23, as that's his career high. DeSean Lacey decided to jump early after his junior year to the NBA draft. And as you see, Kansas, they're missing a lot of their depth here. They may not be the same powerhouse that we saw this year. Faran joins me as we both win Conference Freshman of the Year in our respective conferences, as his 5 assists, 2 steals, and 9 points per game, averaging 16 points in the March Madness. That gives him the hardware that he's going to take home, as he also was in the freshman all-conference as well, leading the entire conference of freshmen in scoring. Donovan's teammate beats him out for the ACC Conference Freshman of the Year. That was really a toss-up. Those guys' stats were really identical, and it could have gone either way. But he does make freshman all-conference. I still think he should have gotten the Conference Freshman of the Year, but that's just me. And you see DeSean also making his way onto the freshman all-conference, as his stats have declined as he's definitely looking to transfer. And we'll find out his decision later on in the episode. You see Jerome Clifford, my replacement, you could say, getting on freshman all-conference as well. Now looking at recruiting, look at this. We have a top 12 recruiting class, 1 All-American, 1 who would also be a 5-star. We have a 4-star and a 3-star coming in. We'll meet those guys later on, as they'll get settled in for the next year of Texas basketball. And you see here, DeSean's days of playing in Cameron Indoor Stadium are numbered. So let's take a look at his top 3 choices of schools to go to. See, he made national headlines when he decided to transfer, and the first one is Kansas. He wants to go to Kansas because with all the guys graduating, we'll meet the number 1 ranked recruit in the nation this year went to Kansas, so he maybe wants to meet up with him and try to make another run at the national championship. We're going to stay in Kansas for his next choice, as DeSean would also like to join the Wichita State Shockers, as they play defense. DeSean's a really good defender, and they like to run, which will fit DeSean's game perfectly in his pursuit for the NBA draft. One more choice, as we'll see that DeSean maybe wants to stay close to home, as he could make the St. John's Red Storm team his. They could run everything through him. He could definitely have his draft stock just implode after a really good year, with him having a high usage rate at a team like St. John's that will just give him the ball and let him do what he wants. He also has a 4th choice that he was not in public, about. He did not speak on his 4th choice, but we'll find out later what that was, and we'll find out his final decision later on in the episode. You see, here is our schedule for my sophomore year. Mount St. Mary's at Arkansas for a big clash in out-of-conference schedule. But if you thought that was big, we also get, 1 away game last year at Duke. Now this year, Duke's coming into our Palace. So we get one game there, they get one game here, so it'll be fun to watch. And we also wrap up out of conference play with a game at VCU as they try to get revenge on us for packing their bags with that Sweet 16 loss we handed them last year. We only have one game against Kansas in the regular season this year. We get them at home, so that'll be a fun game. February 25th, I already have my schedule circled for that game. Now let's look at the NBA Combine as Faran and Donovan went to Chicago, Illinois, the Attack Athletics, to showcase their skills in the upcoming NBA draft. And you see Faran's physicals stacking up with some of the best point guards here in the 2017 class. He's got almost as high a vertical as guys like Dennis Smith, Lonzo Ball. And he's also benched the most. This is how he stacks up against some of the top guards in the class, especially his shooting numbers are good. Then we have Donovan, who is killing them out in the combines. You see, he's got the quickness, the lane agility, the lane slides, whatever you want to call it, that drill. So he's got the quickness, he's got the shooting to succeed. All of his combine stats matching up well against the other top forwards in the 2017 draft class. Donovan projected to go around top 10, maybe a little bit outside the top 10. Faran projected to go 15 to 20. Let's see where they get picked. 76ers are on the clock. And with the first pick, they take Markelle Fultz, point guard out of Washington. And of course, they got their guy. That's what everyone was expecting from him, as he looks to be another franchise centerpiece for the 76ers. Lonzo Ball, no doubt that he was going to go to the Lakers, as it was apparent that LeVar wanted him there. And he was great at UCLA, apart from a couple games in the tournament. Jason Tatum goes 3 to the Celtics as he falls. A little surprised the 76ers didn't nab Tatum, but nonetheless, he gets a very solid home in Boston. Suns looking for another wing too, as they couldn't get their guy Tatum, so they settled with Josh Jackson, the athletic freak from Kansas, as he just needs to put on a little bit of muscle and extend his jump shot. Fox goes to the Kings, Jonathan Isaac goes to the Magic, Lauri Markkanen goes to the Timberwolves, that was traded to the Bulls. Now we have the New York Knicks on the clock, and Faran told me he wanted to go to a big market team, but unfortunately they go with Frank the Tank Ntilikina. Faran really wants to go to a big market, and New York might have been just the place for him to succeed. Faran loves competing in the spotlight, but they go with the defensive specialist from France. The Mavericks looking for Dirk Nowitzki's replacement. Do they go with the big man? Maybe Donovan Gray? No. They stick with a guard, Dennis Smith Jr. out of NC State. Blazers are on the clock next with the 10th pick. And they need a big man to maybe make a potential big three with CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard. And they would pull the trigger on the 6'7" power forward from North Carolina State, Donovan Gray. Our good buddy Donnie getting called the best interior defender in the draft. You can see by that scout at the bottom. And of course, you see here on social media, everyone's going crazy. Donovan Gray is legit. A potential big three looming? Maybe so. Ever since LaMarcus Aldridge made his departure from Portland a couple years ago, they've been looking for a big man replacement down there in Portland. And Donovan might just be your guy, honestly. He can do everything. He's going to be your rim protector inside. Despite being undersized, he doesn't block a lot of shots, but of course, we already know he affects a lot and he changes a lot of shots. And he's a great passer. You see that big three tandem already working well. And he's powerful. 245, all muscle. Donovan, his NBA comparison has got to be Kevin Love. He's got the passing. He's got the all-around ability. Decent athlete, but a tenacious rebounder who will find a very solid home in Portland. Now moving on, Faran still needs to get drafted. So back to the NBA draft. Utah would have been a nice place for Faran too, but they instead take Donovan Mitchell, the bouncy wing from Louisville. Miami's up next, a big market. Could they be the team to pull the trigger on Faran? Yes, they are. Faran goes to Miami to start his NBA career, 14th pick overall, as some people think Miami might have reached a little bit. I disagree. I think this is a great pick. They have the replacement for D Wade. Dragic is getting older. They need some fresh legs at the guard position. You see on social media some guys are a little mixed on it, but that's completely ridiculous in my eyes. Faran's going to bring that winning culture back to Miami. Ever since LeBron left, they've been trying to get back to the NBA Finals, but they haven't really sniffed any deep playoff runs recently. So Faran will definitely be that guy to energize this fan base, as he's got the scoring, he's got the finishing, but he's got that deadly three-point shot. In and out, he can beat you. Got some decent passing, and of course, you guys already know he's a pest on defense. Around 2 steals per game in his college career. Miami fans will quickly take a shine to the first Pakistani player in NBA history, in Faran Nadeem. Well, finally that time came around where it was the first practice of the year. I'm the first one to walk in, or so I thought. I look down and I see somebody I haven't seen in a Texas uniform before getting up shots. I was a little confused because I'm normally always the first one in, and I've never seen this guy before, so. But all of a sudden he just turns around and he fires a pass at me. And as soon as I come closer, I realize who it is. It's DeSean. Yeah, he has decided to play his next year at Texas. Yes, that was his 4th choice. He didn't tell anybody. It was between Kansas, Wichita State, or St. John's, but his 4th choice, Texas, after he came down here and visited the campus and everything, he wanted to join. And because of a new rule in the NCAA, looks like we found the replacement for Chris Hines this season. If you thought that was good enough news on his own merit, well, guess what else? There's a new NCAA transfer rule where DeSean does not have to sit out 1 year, because they've made it so there's some more motivation for students to get good grades in the classroom. DeSean has a close to a 4.0 GPA, and so they made it so if you have a GPA over 3.5, you are able to play right out of the gate with no weights, with no sitting out. So you guys already know, DeSean playing in his first year will be this year. He will not have to sit out a year because of the new NCAA transfer rules taking place this season. Great timing, right? Let's take a look at that rotation. Me, Mitchell Drew, DeSean, Saunders, and Gagne. This starting 5 looks juiced. But it's also time to meet the freshman coming into the lineup. From Fort Worth, Texas, number 2, 6'6" shooting guard, Aaron Catley. He is basically like Chris Hines. His shooting stats are similar, but he is already an above-average on-ball defender. 5th overall recruit coming into the class last year. 5-star, and he will be our 6th man initially. The next guy's a walk-on, Dion Marshall. Probably won't see him too much, as he's mostly just used for on-ball defense. His outside shooting's underwhelming, but he's got a good touch around mid-range, and he's got pretty good wheels too. Moving down even further, we got 2 power forwards redshirting this year. Ricardo Culver, who will not even see much of the court throughout his whole career, and the rebounding specialist Iman Diakite. We just have so many big men that he will have to be redshirted, as we don't really have many backup guards. That's why Aaron Catley is going to be coming off the bench. Now we're all going to come together like we did last year as a team, and we're going to watch the season preview show. But Mitchell Drew is absent. Everybody's here except for him. Unfortunately, it seems Mitchell Drew is becoming more and more isolated from the team as the days go on. We'll have to investigate that as soon as we can as the season goes on, and we'll see what's wrong with Mitchell Drew, as he does not seem as involved with the team. But anyway, let's see what the season has in store for us.
Hi everyone and welcome. I'm Greg Gumbel here with my partner Clark Kellogg, bringing you the 2K Sports Season Preview Show. These are the top 5 teams in college hoops as we begin the new season. The Duke Blue Devils come in as the #1 ranked team, followed by Michigan State, Arizona, Villanova, and Florida. What do you think of the teams going into the year, Clark?
I like the potential of each of these teams. I think all of them have a chance to win the championship this year.
Duke is in catbird seat to start the season, sitting pretty in the #1 spot. They carry over 3 starters from last year, so there shouldn't be too much of a learning curve for this team.
Yeah, they've got the core of that team coming back, and that's going to be huge for them. There won't be much of the feeling out process that so many other teams will have to work through early in the season.
Here's the next group of teams in our preseason top 25. What's your impression of that set of teams?
These teams might not be in the top 10, but you better not overlook them. I would venture to say that several of these teams will win their conference and surprise people in the tournament.
The Texas Longhorns, the #6 team, have stirred up a lot of talk in the offseason. They bring back 4 starters, and that should pay huge dividends for them this year.
I can't tell you what an advantage that is for them. There's so much turnover in the college game these days that having 4 starters coming back is almost unfair, Greg.
The West Virginia Mountaineers, the #11 team, have also generated a lot of interest. Their tournament last year came to an abrupt end with a loss in the second round. What do you think of this collection?
I think there were a few teams that were slighted and should probably be in the top 25 ahead of some of these teams. But I'll hold my tongue and talk about the teams that do deserve to be here.
The Miami Hurricanes, the #24 team, are also worth keeping an eye on. I'm sure they're excited to have their Steals leader returning. He was their anchor on defense.
They're getting back someone who can cause major headaches for their opponents. Having a pest like that does wonders for a team's defensive ability.
Let's move on to a player who's worked very hard to earn his spot on the list. The Kansas Jayhawks can depend on a solid effort from him each and every night.
Rodriguez is going to play a huge role in his team's success.
He returns as his team's #1 scorer. His game is complete, and all he has to do is find a way to stay consistent through the season, and he'll easily be one of the top scorers in the nation.
The Duke Blue Devils have built their team around this young man's talent, and I'd say that's a pretty good idea.
Coggin was close to a spot on the first team, but there was too much competition this season.
He's pure grit, Greg. He isn't afraid to throw his body into any chaos.
Hey, Clark, that should do it for us here in the studio. For myself and all of us here at 2K Sports, thanks for watching our season preview. Enjoy all the college hoops action to come, everyone.
Next episode will be the sophomore year debut of me and the Tech's debut of DeSean. We got 2 big games next episode. We'll have the Arkansas and Duke game as the road to the Final Four begins right now.